Do you want to protect your Second Amendment rights to bear arms? Well, today's guest is a freedom-loving American who actually had the courage to personally confront presidential candidate Joe Biden face-to-face about the statements that he had made about his desire to take away your ability to defend yourself and your ability to bear arms. Ladies and gentlemen, on today's show, we are interviewing AR-14 Jerry Wayne. You see, Jerry Wayne is a union worker. He's a great American, and he loves your freedom. He loves his freedom. He loves our Constitution, and he knows that it is imperative that we never lose our First Amendment right to peaceably gather or our Second Amendment rights to bear arms, because if we can't bear arms, we cannot protect ourselves from the uprising of a tyrannical government. Today's show is a game-changing and inspirational show that I know you are going to love.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, and yes! Thrive Nation, on today's show, we're interviewing the man who decided to stand up to presidential candidate for the Democrats, Joe Biden. You see, today's guest, he actually went up to Joe Biden and asked Joe Biden why he is so obsessed with taking away your rights, and specifically your Second Amendment rights to bear arms. You see, presidential candidate for the Democrats, Joe Biden, went to speak to a group of union workers. And when he decided to speak to that group, I do not believe that he thought he would run into Jerry Wayne. Who's Jerry Wayne? Jerry Wayne is a freedom-loving American who's not afraid to stand up to anybody to protect his constitutional rights, and specifically his Second Amendment rights to bear arms. And so he asked the president the tough questions, but he didn't ask him, in an indirect way. He asked him directly to his face. And now, without any further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Jerry Wayne. Now, Jerry, I looked into your background in preparation for today's show, and my brain almost exploded. And so I thought the best way to tee up who you are is you have a commercial that is being played by the NRA right now.
That's this guy?
Yes.
Oh, I'm honored to speak with you.
Would you be okay if I played some audio from your commercial and we break it down together? Does that sound okay, Jerry?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to cue up the audio. Here we go. Let me cue up the audio here.
I am the union worker that Joe Biden tried to intimidate.
Your AR-14s and what?
Joe Biden wants to take my AR-14. Let's just not tell him what it really is.
AR-14.
I got this the day after I talked to Joe. I'm sure that's not the result he was going for. My name is Jerry Wayne, and all I wanted to do is ask a presidential candidate a question. I didn't intend to start a fight. All I did was ask Joe how he was going to win over the union vote when he's planning on coming after our guns with Beto O'Rourke.
Hell yes, we're gonna take your AR-15, your AK-47.
I watched a video where he wanted to make assault weapons, or America's most popular rifle, illegal. So I asked him about it. Instead of answering me honestly, he acted like he never said it at all. You are actively trying to diminish our Second Amendment right and take away our guns.
You're full of
So when you were at Beto, when you said you're going to take our guns,
I did not say that. That's not true. I did not say
Bible
that.
video. And you say I'm full of Really, Joe? All I did was ask you about your own comments.
So to gun owners out there who say, well, a Biden administration means they're going to come for my guns.
Bingo. You're right if you have an assault weapon. The fact of the matter is they should be illegal, period.
At one point, he asked me if I wanted to go outside.
There's a lot of guys.
And then I ended up telling him, you work for me. And then he wouldn't tell me no.
I'm not worried.
Politicians that have been in office for as long as Joe Biden need to be reminded that they work for us.
Okay, so Jerry Wayne, you were face-to-face with presidential candidate Joe Biden. What was that? Can you explain what it was like being in his presence, the interaction? Tell us what it was like there.
Honestly, it was like, the presence there wasn't very good for me because everybody around there was not definitely not on my side. But as far as me talking eye to eye to him, everybody thinks like it's like this big deal and everything like that. I don't see it like that because I truly look at him as just a peer of mine and somebody that really just works for me. And then he wanted to go off the deep end and start saying, bad words to me and stuff and being a tough guy. But I think he was really expecting me to back down on that. But that's not me. I don't back down to bullies.
Now, what is your occupation, sir? What do you do?
I'm a skilled tradesman. My trade is millwright. I work on rotating equipment, everything between robots, conveyors, turbines, nuclear reactors, things like that.
So I want to get Ken Reddick your take on this. Tonight is the day. This is an election watch party right now, Jerry, for this candidate right here. He's actually running for mayor of Tulsa. Both of you guys are, you guys have jobs, you have families, and you recognize you cannot remain silent anymore. So, Ken, what's your take on the Second Amendment rights to bear arms?
Oh, I wholeheartedly support it, and that's why we got backed fully endorsed by OK2A.
So you're in favor of allowing Tulsans to keep their guns?
Absolutely, yeah. That's I really liked it when Nathan Dahm and other legislators presented the bill for a constitutional carry here in Oklahoma.
So let's talk about this, Jerry. Why do you believe that Americans should have the right to bear arms? Why do you believe that?
Well, a lot of people believe it's the right to defend yourself and your property, but the way I see it is it's the fact that we need to be able to keep our government in check.
Absolutely.
That's basically it right there. And we need the ammo to do so. We need guns to do so. And I do believe that our taxes should be taken down from that because we should be having a regulated militia, and it shouldn't be taken away from our government entity. We should be able to fund our militia as any way we see fit to keep our government in check.
I don't think people understand when you're talking about militia. I'm going to go with you, Ken, first, and then I'll go back to today's other guest here. Why do the people need to have guns to be able to protect themselves? From what are we trying to protect ourselves from?
Tyranny.
What do you mean tyranny?
An overreaching government that would one day wish to imprison us, even if it's just slowly, if they're just chipping away at our liberties. They know that last milestone is going to be impossible for them because there's an educated public that is willing to step in front and step up to the front line and protect the liberties of others.
Can you have, Ken, to your knowledge, are you allowed to have AR assault rifles in China? No, folks, you cannot have an AR assault rifle in China because China has one of the strictest gun control regulations in the world. They are also one of the countries that is famous for taking away great people like you to what they call re-education camps if you don't agree with the government. And if you don't believe me, just do a Google search for BBC, type into Google, BBC Chinese re-education camps. What they do there is horrific. It is terrible. It is denounced by many organizations throughout the world. In fact, Amnesty International has found countless crimes against humanity committed by the Chinese government. So again, if you're out there and you're saying, well, why do we need the right to bear arms? It's because we want to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. And now, back to the interview. So what is the idea here? Jerry, why do you think that Joe Biden is so outspoken about taking away assault rifles from Americans?
Well, I believe that he is just leading a demographic. So he's reaching out to demographic. And when he started to speak about that, that's right after Beto O'Rourke said, yeah, heck yes, we're going to take your guns and all that. And then when Beto dropped out, he saw a demographic of which he could grab. So then he started to push that same agenda. And whether you want to just do it for a vote grab or you actually want to do it, you're playing with fire there. And I see that he actually wants to take these things away. And it's not something to be played with, and especially not in America.
Jerry, if I want to get involved in your organization, because I am going to reach out and I want to have you on the show again, what I wanted to do is first just expose the listeners to your message here on today's show during today's Watch Party edition of the Thrive Time Show, that I want to have you on the show again. How can people get involved? What do they need to do to support and to fight to protect their Second Amendment rights?
Well, as of right now, you can follow me on social media. My name is Jerry Wayne, AR-14, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'll have a YouTube be coming out here soon, but I do have an organization underway. I don't have the name legalized just yet, We're going to be pushing hard for this here pretty soon.
Yep.
And my organization is actually, I believe, is going to change the tide of America for years to come. I'm going to be taking children between the ages of 10 to 17, and what we're going to do is teach them to be upstanding citizens and to protect our Constitution and to understand how to safely use firearms, as well as be entrepreneurs of the future and self-reliant individuals.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Jerry, you are here with a mayoral candidate who's running as a Republican in Tulsa, where we have a man who was voted in as a Republican, G.T. Bynum, but it turns out he's an op-ed writer for the New York Times now who says publicly he's listening to Barack Obama. I think you do a good job of kind of having a BS filter to determine whether somebody's actually a Republican or not, whether someone's actually a freedom-loving American or not. What question would you have for a person who's running as a conservative mayoral candidate? What question would you have for Ken Reddick?
The question would I have, how do you see leading the way of individual Americans and how they could prosper for their dreams?
In the role of government?
Sure.
I believe that you should stand back and just supply them with as much knowledge as possible. Empower them, give them resources to actually educate themselves, offer them mentorships, and just give them facts of how they could end up if they, because a lot of people don't realize that you and I have a very similar background. We have a trade skill, and, a lot of people think that that's just something you fall back on, right? It's not something you actually seek. I'm wearing a graduation ring of a 4-year certificate of a trade school that I attended, Associated Builders and Contractors. And I think if a city could just grab a hold of a youth, someone that feels lost or derelict or forgotten, and they could show them that there's a way, I think that's about the only role a local government should really have with the public.
Jerry, why do you call yourself AR-14 Jerry Wayne? Where does the AR-14 come from? For people out there that don't know where that comes from.
Yeah, so when I had that confrontation with Joe Biden, instead of saying AR-15, he said AR-14, and that kind of really reminisced with what my situation was. So there's different Jerry Waynes out there in the world, but I'm the only one that has an AR-14. So by putting that to my name, people understand that I'm the person that had the altercation with Joe Biden, and it's just that much easier to find me to get involved in this movement that we're doing.